Hello, Goldsboro gals, Jody and Natalie and Janet. It is Dr. Palermo with your week 6 message, which primarily is that we will be meeting this coming weekend in Goldsboro, February 23rd and 24th. And I have closed a whole bunch of dialogue boards asking you to respond to our readings in order to free you up so that you can do a great job presenting your works in progress on the PLCPB and FCEPB. I hope you remember that I had asked you to present at this second meeting, and what I'm looking for in particular is I hope at this point that you have completed writing and that you will have completed PLCPB parts 1 and 2 and the FCEP parts 1 and 2 as well. What is part 1 and 2? Well, it's the intro and the revised action plan for each, the PLCPB and FCEP, as well as in part 2 of the PLCP, leading others and description of how you're working with others and how you're using data. So again, I hope that you're seeing connections between some of the stuff about assessment for learning, the formative aspects of work in PLCs in order to shape student work and improve student outcomes. You should see a connection there, I hope. So what format is your presentation to take? Well, if you want to bring printed copies and pass those around and describe to us what you're doing on your PLCPs and FCEPs, fine. If you choose to cut and paste some of that into a PowerPoint and do a few slides to show us what you've done so far on these works, fine. But again, I expect that you've made some progress, that you're implementing your plans, and in particular, if you have not, if you choose to print or choose not to print copies when you're sharing this stuff with us, I would like to see your action plans at least, the printed copy of your revised action plans for the PLCP and the FCEP. Those should be revised at this point. Those should be incorporated into your Part B, and that should drive some of the rest of the work. So I would like to see copies of those action plans at least. Bring copies of your textbooks, the assessment for learning, the assessment as learning, as well as your copy of the standards, please. We're going to do an activity in the standards. Natalie has agreed to bring an assessment for us, I hope, on that. And otherwise, I did ask you in a very vague and confusing fashion to bring some assessment and work sample. What am I talking about? Well, probably a non-traditional assessment might work best for this. Do you do a project of some sort? Do you do, and I'm talking about bringing something from your own classroom or a neighboring teacher's class. Do you do a hands-on project that assesses student learning like a science fair project or a classroom project, a presentation? And is there a rubric along with that? And do you have a student work sample? Ultimately, I want you to go back and lead a group of teachers, perhaps a PLC, perhaps you can roll this into your PLCP. I want you to go back and be able to lead a group of teachers to examine a classroom or a school assessment, including a student work sample, and to see how these align with the standards. Is it a valid and reliable, a good assessment? How are the students doing on it? Does the student work sample reflect the outcomes expected for that assessment? So if it's a non-traditional assessment rather than a paper pencil test, that's probably a good idea. But broaden your thinking about assessment for learning. And again, I'm going to try to help with some protocols that will lead you in leading teachers to examine assessments. Is that confusing or what? Well, we'll see. It's going to be a lot of metacognition and thinking about thinking. You should read Earl chapter 10 and 11 to prep for this weekend. You should read Black chapter 5. You should read Standards chapter 4. Don't do any of the dialogue posts that you may find connected with week 6. But over here in the course meeting tab for week 2, face-to-face meeting 2, you'll see I've loaded tons of stuff from week 5, from week 6. We're going to do this stuff, a lot of it, in class, as well as some others, and I hope share some videos with you and some reading, some learning that I hope will enrich your understanding of assessment and help you lead teachers in discussions about assessment back at your schools. So it's going to be a busy weekend. I hope that all of you will be there, and I look forward to seeing you and being with you this coming weekend in Goldsboro. Thanks, gals.